Our reading this week is from Rays of the One Light, weekly commentary in the Bible and Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriyananda. This week's reading is Self-Reliance versus Self-Reliance. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. Last week, we considered the need for attunement with God, with the gurus, with the wisdom of others, until we make that wisdom our own. There is a strong, and in fact valid belief nowadays, in the need for standing on one's own feet, rather than depending weakly on others to carry us by their strength. Swami Kriyananda was once asked, "What is the best yoga posture?" "That one," he replied, "that sets you squarely on your own 2 feet." Our strength must come from within. If that strength comes from the ego, however, instead of from soul consciousness, it is like a guitar string without its sounding board. The notes it emits will be thin and feeble. Our strength must come from within, but must be coupled with recognition of our inner link with broader and higher realities. The Bhagavad Gita says in the 10th chapter, "Everyone in this world whose life is glorious or prosperous or powerful, know that his achievement is but a little spark from the great sun of my effulgence." Jesus, in talking to his disciples, emphasized also the power of attunement with his own consciousness as a ray of the divine. For this ray had descended already through him in response to their devotion. It was a sign that God was already listening to them with receptive attention and did not require to be wooed in that way any longer. In the passage preceding the one that we read last week, Jesus said, "I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away. And every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit. Now ye are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine, no more can ye, except ye abide in me." This was the meaning of Paramhansa Yogananda's counsel also, when speaking more intimately to the disciples of the need for attunement with him. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om.
Thank you for joining us this morning. And thank you to Riman and Padma for inviting me to join you. Our subject, as Rick noted, is self-reliance, the human version, versus self-reliance, the divine version. And I'd like to begin with a reading from Whispers from Eternity by Paramhansa Yogananda. This is demand not to be enslaved by the ego. I want to use my own will, but guide it ever, Father, toward the golden paradise of all fulfillment. For I would be infinity's smiling child, confident of being imprisoned no longer behind bars of fruitless desire and withered hopes. I would break the shameful cords of lethargy that have presumed to hold me and step fearlessly into freedom. Released, I now blaze my way through forests of every limitation and delusion. Oh, my little vain ego may strut proudly saying, "Behold my glory, worship me." But I will look through its transparent form and behold thine unimaginable beauty clothed in the subtle form of the whole universe. The silence-tuned hearing of my soul will ignore that tiny boasting masquerader, my little self impersonating thee, and will listen rapturously to the wind-borne fragrant music of thine own matchless voice, whispering across the ages, I am he. A beautiful poem, and appropriate certainly to the subject this morning. When we were growing up in school and at home, we were taught the Golden Rule, the Ten Commandments, the importance of kindness and friendship. And as we got a little older, other qualities were added, including that of self-reliance, the value of self-reliance. We were encouraged to respect and even to emulate those who blazed their own trail. The movers and shakers, the captains of industry, the rulers of nations. It is they who were presented to us as the people that we should want to be, icons of enviable success, right? Well, Jesus didn't seem to think so. Apparently, he had a different idea of what it means to be successful. Something about having a life filled with love and inner peace and lasting joy. Not many, if any, of those movers and shakers are known for that kind of success. The quote in the reading today from Jesus is one of my favorites because it condenses the sum of our teachings into just a few words. Abide in me and I in thee. As the branch cannot bear fruit of itself except it abide in the vine, no more can ye except ye abide in me. It's all right there. Center yourself in God, and life is good. Center yourself in anything else, and get ready for a bumpy ride. Or, as Jesus implies here, get ready for a barren harvest. There are lots of reasons why the harvest of our worldly desires is bound to leave us unsatisfied and feeling incomplete. But in every case, the culprit is the same. It's Maya, the lure of delusion. Maya is like the bait that fishermen use to reel in their catch. It can be so tempting, all those things out there that we love to play with and would love to possess, our worldly dreams, our idealized relationships. And when the excitement gets the better of us, we take the bait and swallow the hook. Earthly pleasure does not last. It's finite by nature. Finite in the same way that these bodies of ours slowly break down and must also come to an end. In the course of our many lives, each of us has fallen victim to Maya millions of times. And none of us is safe from the lure of it still. In the sea of this world's tempting distractions, there is so much to pull us away from our one true mission in life, which is simply to return to God. And the greatest delusion of all is thinking that we can navigate on our own, that we can rely on our little self to make it through the storms of Maya that we are so skillful at unleashing. The good news is we never stop getting chances to live and learn. When a worldly temptation reels us in and we find ourselves flopping around like a fish out of water, gasping for air, God does not step in, fillet, and fry us. He simply tosses us back into the sea of human experience, until we learn to not find and seek to satisfy our appetite in worldly desires, but to realize our sustenance in Him. The ego's world is the outside world itself. It's riddled with ups and downs, and it does not encourage or support our search for God. It tries instead to plunge us into all kinds of restless ambitions, material pursuits, and the self-justifications that we invent to excuse the folly of it all. That mischievous voice that chatters between our ears, it can be so persuasive. Hey, it says, listen up. Whatever you want, I can help you get it. Just follow my lead. And when that bait that it dangles in front of us becomes irresistible, we so much want to believe that we can swallow it and get away unscathed. No, I'm afraid not. As you well know, karma keeps the score, and it just doesn't miss a trick. So the trick is not to trick ourselves. As we read in today's affirmation, God has blessed us with the antidote to overcome our mistakes, the gift of discrimination. But it's a gift that resides in potential. We are the ones that have to choose to apply it. And that, as you know, is easier said than done. But let's give ourselves a little credit here too. We have seen the light of a brighter future, which has guided us to the guidance of these great masters. And as we attune ourselves to their divine ray, our ability to discriminate wisely improves enormously. Our ability to avoid delusion's hook. Make no mistake, of course, the opposition is clever and very powerful. Modern society is the aggregate of all the egos that surround us, including our own, of course. And it puts tremendous pressure on us to conform to its ideals. When nearly everyone is doing just that, it takes a lot of inner strength, a lot of self-reliance with the capital S, to turn away and take the road less traveled. As Swamiji wrote in one of his most inspiring songs, "What if men cry, your dream is not our own? Your soul knows the answer. Go on alone." Swamiji advised us to focus on the heart, especially when confronted with a difficult decision. Let your heart be your guide. Why not the mind? Because, as he said, the mind is a less refined intelligence, and thus it is more likely to lead us into forests of uncertainty, or confusion, and doubt. But the heart, when it's open and receptive, and when it's free of emotion, it has a built-in GPS. And it's not just a GPS that is a global positioning system to get us through traffic. It gets us through the real traffic. It's a God positioning system. I hope you'll think of it that way from now on. All of us here are striving to live what is true, and we know very well what happens when we don't. We fray our nerves over things that barely matter, and yet this is what is commonly accepted as normal. Images of fame and fortune are projected before us everywhere, and people drive themselves nearly mad with stress in chasing the false hope of a blissful worldly life. The sad truth is, those who actually acquire fame and fortune seldom achieve that inner peace and joy to go along with it. There's a story I've told on myself before, and it speaks directly to what happens to us when we think that we're the ones in control of the world around us. In 2002, at the request of Ananda, Tushti and I moved from our home here in the Linwood community to take the management of that other East-West bookstore in California. The request itself was an utter surprise, and I'm looking at Padma and Hriman because there's kind of an inside running joke about how we were volunteered for that job, and we've gotten a lot of mileage out of it and a lot of good laughs over the years. But needless to say, it was quite a daunting adjustment for us, especially because here we were at the helm of a $3 million enterprise with absolutely no managerial or retail experience. It's kind of Ananda's way. They're pretty famous for that sort of thing. Well, I prayed a lot. I respectfully sought advice from other members, particularly of my staff, included Stephanie here. And as things at the store improved, I began to feel more capable in my role. And it was about that time that my ego started patting me on the back, telling me that I had a real knack for running the business, and that now I could rely on my own advice to handle whatever might arise. Well, as a result, I got hit with a dose of humility in a hurry. I soon learned that not everyone saw things as I did. Imagine that. Nor did everyone see me as I did. In making a number of decisions without consulting my staff and without carefully meditating on what the best course might be, not only did I encounter resistance, I gave birth to new challenges, the biggest of which was me. You know, as I learned then, and I'm still learning now, life works so much better when your plans, your policies, and your actions are attuned to a higher intelligence than simply your own. Like all of us, I'm sure, now at least over the years we have acquired a rather extensive reference library of painful memories and past mistakes. And these more and more are able to guide us in a wiser direction when we're tempted by those delusions, those outside desires. In 2006, Swamiji gave me the name Surrendra. He said it means what you might expect it does: surrender of the little egoic self to the wisdom and ways of God. And as you might also expect, I didn't receive the name because I had already mastered the art of that. The name is meant to remind me of the work ahead, of the need to look inward for answers, and to place my reliance on the true self instead of the one that does not abide in the vine. You and I are works in progress, but the progress we make on this blessed path is a joy to experience and to share. Abide in me, and I in thee. It's what Jesus said, and Krishna repeated the same counsel to Arjuna repeatedly on the field of Kurukshetra from the Bhagavad Gita. As we learn to abide in that wisdom, the branches of our lives bear fruit, more fruit than we may ever have thought even possible. The fruit of spiritual depth, of inner peace, of divine bliss that comes and makes its home here in the heart. What could be better than that? Thank you, and God bless you. Let's just take a moment of reflection.